In 1994, Howard Walmsley told everyone he won £8.9 million in the national lottery. For his wife Kathy and those around him, it seemed like a dream come true. Overnight, the once struggling painter and decorator transformed into a man of immense wealth, driving luxury cars, buying extravagant gifts, and painting a picture of a future bathed in endless riches. But here's the thing, Howard didn't win anything. It was all a lie so convincing that even banks and businessmen believed him. Who was this man? How did he fool everyone around him? And why would he risk everything for a lie that could destroy his life? This is the true story of a man who faked his way to fortune until it all came crashing down. Howard and Kathy Walmsley got married in 1993. At the time of his marriage, Howard was running a painting and decorating business that didn't bring him enough money to run the house. The same continued after the couple got married as well. As time passed, the financial condition of the Walmsleys got worse, affecting their personal relationship too. Debt collectors knocking on Howard's door had become a daily routine. To avoid people harassing him and his wife on the verge of leaving him, Howard came up with an idea: pretending to win a lottery. When Howard broke the fake news to Kathy, he told his wife to keep it strictly to herself and don't share it with anyone. His plan was to buy as much time as he could and save his relationship. The next step in Howard's mind was to share his secret with other people who were close to him. The first people after his wife whom he told about the lottery winning were Bev and Nigel, his sister and brother-in-law.
He just said, "I've won lottery." And I said, "Come on, you're kidding." And he said, "No, I have."
After making Bev and Nigel believe that he indeed had won the lottery, Howard turned to his neighbors, Marge and Karen, and told them the same. Shortly after disclosing it to his close family and friends, the news of Howard winning the lottery spread like wildfire in the community of Doncaster. Howard took people to dinners and bought everyone drinks in the area's local club. This completely removed all the doubts from people's minds about him winning the lottery. But how was he able to spend so much when, in reality, he was broke? You see, he had borrowed some money to show off his new lavish lifestyle to people. He even took Kathy on the couple's first international trip. They both went to the Canaries to spend some time alone. While everyone knew Howard had won a lottery, nobody had any idea about the amount of his winnings. This is because Howard never told anyone exactly how much he had won. When Kathy asked Howard about it, he told her that he had all the money deposited into an offshore account and that they were getting monthly interest on it. So, they had to go steady with their spending as they only got a fixed amount of interest every month. While on the holiday, the Walmsleys met some new people and made some new friends. Two of those were Brian Scott and his wife Gloria. After a few meetups, Howard and Kathy told their new friends about their lottery winning. This fascinated their friends, and their friendship grew stronger during their stay together. Brian and Gloria had never met someone who had won the lottery. Spending their trip with a lottery winner was new to them, but they were enjoying pairing up with another couple and enjoying the trip together. Wherever the two couples went after becoming friends, Howard paid the bills because he had just won a big lottery. From exquisite meals to expensive champagne, Howard took care of all of the bills and never let Brian and Gloria pay despite their insistence. By the time Howard and Kathy were done holidaying in the Canaries, the couple had spent £2,400 on their few days of experiencing luxury for the first time in their life. Throughout their trip, Howard neither told Kathy nor the couple's newly made friends about exactly how much he had won. However, from the way he was spending on the holiday trip, Brian and Gloria assumed that it was a big amount. When the couple went back to Doncaster, Howard had to tell more lies to people close to him to keep people believing the lie that he had told them a few days ago. After time passed, Kathy started having doubts about Howard's claim about winning the lottery because their bills were still mounting up. She knew that if her husband was telling the truth, they wouldn't have to worry about the bills ever again. When the situation persisted, Kathy decided to call the lottery company herself and confirm Howard's claims. When she phoned the Camelot Lottery to make sure that Howard had actually won the lottery, the company didn't give her any information. But after some insisting and requesting, they agreed to give Kathy a rundown of the amounts being won each week on a Wednesday and a Saturday. After matching the date of Howard's revelation with big lottery winnings, Kathy concluded that her husband had won the lottery on the 17th of October, 1998. because the winner on that date had won £8,904,558. When she asked Howard about it, he also told her that the assumption was right and that they were multi-millionaires now. Howard had once again lied to his wife because he knew the moment she discovered the truth, it would be the couple's last day together. Even after 3 months after becoming millionaires, Howard and his wife still lived in the council house that they had lived in since getting married. When Kathy asked him about switching the house or improving their lifestyle, Howard told her the same thing as he did while they were on their international holiday. The lottery winnings were offshore and unavailable to access for some time. Before anyone started doubting his claim, Howard hosted a celebration party for his family and friends. More than 60 people came to the party, some of whom were meeting each other for the very first time. Howard spent more than £600 just on the drinks for everybody. The people at the party ate their favorite food and had their favorite drinks all night long, but they didn't get what they had come for: the checks. Yes, while inviting people to the party, Howard had told them he would be giving them checks of £150,000 each. Kathy also assumed that every attendee of the party would be getting a check by the end of the night, but none of them ever got a check. Kathy was still doubtful, and Howard knew he had to come up with a more convincing lie than just his words to make his wife believe that he had actually won the lottery. He went to a Jaguar dealership in Doncaster and bought a brand new car for himself. When Howard visited the dealership, he decided to get an XK8 coupe for his wife as well. The two cars cost around £90,000 at the time. The store manager initially got suspicious of the way Howard had ordered 3 Jaguars. The Jaguar dealership wasn't used to seeing customers who would so easily and quickly buy 3 expensive cars. But Howard successfully addressed all their suspicions when he told them that he was a lottery winner. Howard carefully laid out a web of lies to the sales team at the Jaguar dealership as well. He told them that he was going to buy a tractor for his village in South Africa to come off as a generous person so the salesmen could build their trust in him. After a few visits to the dealership, Howard asked the dealership to let him take one of the cars he was going to buy on a test drive, and the dealership agreed. Howard and Kathy's neighbors were jealous of the couple's newfound wealth. Kathy, despite having several family members and good friends living in the neighborhood, wanted to move somewhere else to avoid getting robbed in a community that had a high crime rate. When she discussed her desire with her husband, Howard immediately agreed and encouraged her to find the property that would fit the life Kathy wanted to live after becoming a multimillionaire. After visiting several properties, Kathy finally liked a countryside estate. Howard didn't waste any time and clinched the deal to give his wife the home of her dreams. The farmhouse was listed at £285,000, and Howard agreed to pay the owners the demanded amount in cash. It was the perfect place for Kathy to live. The farmhouse was near her family's place of residence. It was outside the city and its chaos, and it offered the privacy that Kathy had been looking for. Although the farmhouse needed quite a bit of work, Howard and Kathy were willing to renovate it and turn it into an estate fit for millionaires. The couple planned to have a large courtyard as you walk in, with stables on one side and a big, massive extension of the house on the other side. The extension would contain a snooker room, a gym with all the latest equipment, and a suite which led to the swimming pool. Soon after signing the deal, Howard and Kathy began renovating their house, and the first item on their list was the swimming pool. Howard hired a swimming pool construction company and even seemed willing to pay nearly £40,000 just to get a cover installed for the pool.
Mr. Walmsley said to me, "Can you dance on it?" I said, "No, you can't." But I said, "We can make you a pool cover that will either rise up from the floor or come down from the ceiling, all at the press of a button. But as soon as we start talking money, people go off the idea." So he said, "Well, how much is it going to cost?" I said, "Literally anywhere between £25,000 and £40,000. So I said, "Well, if it's what I want, I'll have it."
Howard never forgot that he needed to keep Kathy convinced to prolong his lie. He told her that he would get the top-of-the-range farmhouse kitchen built for her. When it comes to the billiard table, Howard didn't go for a usual table, but rather agreed to pay a company £6,500 for a Victorian-themed table. He was going to deposit £500 for the project, but never went back to make the deposit. On paper, Howard's spending on the house was more than £500,000. This didn't include the money he had spent on the international holiday, the Jaguar cars, and the party he had thrown for his friends and family. With time, Kathy noticed an unusual change in Howard's behavior. He had become more snappy since winning the lottery. The couple frequently argued over small issues, and whenever that happened, Howard went out. While Kathy assumed her husband went out just to cool himself, Howard was secretly doing so to turn his lie into a truth. He was spending 60 to 70 pounds a week to buy lottery tickets, hoping that one of them would actually win him the jackpot someday soon. At one point, Howard thought the lottery gods had finally heard him, but he came 2 numbers short of a jackpot. One Saturday, while Kathy was taking a bath, Howard secretly turned on the TV to watch the lottery draw. His heartbeat raced as the numbers were announced because the first 4 numbers matched. He thought it was the last day of him lying to everyone about his lottery winning, but the last 2 numbers didn't match, shattering his hopes. 4 months had passed since Howard first announced his big lottery win to his wife, but he was still broke and on the verge of a financial disaster. The world still thought Howard was a lottery winner, so everyone tried to win his favor. The banks in South Yorkshire wanted Howard to invest his money with them because not every day a bank gets a Millionaire customer. Howard even owed one of the banks £1,000, which the bank management decided to let go of when Howard told him he intended to invest £3 million with them. One of the banks told him that they were going to return £274,000 on his $3 million if he invested his money with them. While Howard was telling lie after lie to the banks, Kathy was planning to move into her dream house that the couple had bought a few weeks ago. She was giving away the used stuff in her current house to her friends and neighbors because Kathy knew she wouldn't need old things from her previous home once she moved into her country estate. However, the bills also kept on coming, which made Kathy more and more doubtful about her husband's lottery winning. In an attempt to convince his wife and the people he owed money about his winning, Howard went to a cash point and deposited a check for £8.9 million into one of his accounts. He knew from the very start that the check would soon bounce, but he was also aware that his bank statement would show the deposited check's amount in the meanwhile. For the next 3 months, Howard bounced checks to himself for millions of pounds and kept everyone convinced that he had got money in his account. His wife, sister, brother-in-law, everyone now fully believed that Howard Walmsley was indeed a lottery winner because bank receipts never lied. His trick not only convinced people but also worked to buy Kathy's dream house. When the real estate agents contacted the bank to confirm if Howard actually had the amount required to buy the farmhouse, the bank officials told him that he had sufficient funds in his account, thanks to his new technique of bouncing his own checks. After the paperwork was complete, Howard signed a check to pay for the house. He even helped the previous owners of the property to move out, despite knowing that the check would bounce after a few days. On the day of moving to her new home, Kathy woke up early in the morning to get ready for a new life. There was a knocking and shouting at the door. When Kathy opened the door, it was the police. Howard thought his check had bounced, but the authorities were investigating a series of frauds involving Howard's previous business and had no idea about his lottery life. Detective John Ragg and Phil Purnell had spent 2 years chasing up Howard's debts from his failed painting and decorating business. But when Howard told the detectives that he was a multi-millionaire lottery winner, it took the detectives by surprise, and they initially even believed him. Kathy also told the police that her husband had won the lottery, and the couple was moving to their new house in a few hours. But the detectives had other plans. They arrested Howard, turning a happy morning for Kathy into a painful memory. When Howard was taken to the police station and was further investigated, he clung to his lottery story throughout the day until one of the officers asked him if he had actually won the lottery. It was after Howard's hours-long interrogation that Kathy finally discovered that her husband had been spinning a web of lies for the past several months and that there was no lottery prize waiting for them in an offshore account. Howard's plan to lie about winning the lottery and keeping his relationship with Kathy alive had finally backfired. Soon after discovering the truth, Kathy decided to part ways with her husband. And while she was thinking about how to tell the couple's family and friends about Howard's big lie about lottery winning, the detectives dropped another bombshell on her. Howard had a mistress whom Kathy and other people in his circle didn't know about. But that was not it. Howard Walmsley had somehow persuaded his mistress to take out £30,000 in loans so that they could both start a new life together. And that was the exact money that he had spent convincing everyone that he had won the lottery. From his holiday trip with Kathy to parties and luxury shopping, Howard had used his mistress's money for everything. Howard knew Kathy wouldn't accept her back into her life after what had happened in the past few months, but he also knew that if he got a job and tried to pay off the couple's debts, then Kathy might develop a soft spot for him. And that's exactly what happened. 3 months after he was arrested, Kathy took him back. However, that was just part of the problem Howard had solved. There were other financial and legal troubles still following him. He was charged with multiple counts of deception because his lie and actions had cost several people a huge amount. For example, the Norris family, whom Howard had bought the farmhouse from, lost nearly £30,000 in the whole episode.
About £30,000 were lost, £20,000 on the property which we had to sell very quickly to pay all the people off, which Howard incurred costs for us.
We've never hated him. I do believe that when he says he's never hurt anyone during this, well, he has, because, it could have destroyed us.
Although Howard was able to keep his marriage and life with Kathy alive, he still had to face the law. Howard Walmsley's attorney, Andrew Hatton, told the court that Howard had come up with the lottery story because he was, quote, trying to rescue his marriage, and by doing that, he caused himself more problems in the long run. Kathy also appealed to the court to be lenient toward her husband, citing that his actions were motivated purely by love. However, her request was rejected by the judge, who said that Howard ran his life on lies and deceit for a considerable amount of time. On the 3rd of September, 2001, Judge Jane Shipley of the Sheffield Crown Court sentenced Howard Walmsley to 3 years in prison for conning several people and businesses by pretending to be a lottery winner. While sentencing Howard, the judge said, quote, "You wanted to aspire to the high life and appear successful, but you seem to lack what it takes to be a successful entrepreneur." The judge also told Howard Walmsley that he lived in a fantasy world, thinking that he could pretend to be a lottery winner and make people believe for a prolonged period of time. Following her husband's sentence, Kathy Walmsley told the media, "He did it to keep us all together, and I'm standing by him." Kathy revealed that her husband had met someone else who gave him the attention he wanted, and he had asked her to take out a loan for buying a house. She believed that her husband had actually intended to go through with it because things between them were not working out. While Howard did make attempts to hold on to Kathy, she refused to accept any gifts from him because there were bills to be paid. Kathy believed that the only way for her husband was to lie to her about having won the lottery. She thought that Howard believed if he convinced her that they had won a lot of money, all the worries that the couple had would be over, and that's why he lied. She reinstated that he wanted to keep his family together, that the entire incident was in the past, and that they have dealt with it. However, by the time Howard's lie was caught, things were a bit out of hand. He had tricked banks, an architect, a solicitor, a car company, and 2 female friends. In total, he cost his victims £53,000, and a movie titled Can't Buy Me Love was also released in 2004 that was inspired by Howard Walmsley's story. In 2019, South Yorkshire Police appealed to the public for information on a person named John Eric Wells for his involvement in a romance fraud where the victims lost more than £400,000. The offenses had taken place in Sussex, Doncaster, and London. When the investigation of this particular offense began, it was discovered that John Eric Wells was the same person who was caught and sentenced to 3 years in jail in 2001 for pretending to be a lottery winner. In the 2019 case against Walmsley, it was revealed that after getting out of prison for his fake story about winning the lottery, Howard laid low for several years before going back into the world conning. One of his victims from the 2019 case was Hazel Wilkins, who claimed that Howard, who had changed his name to John Eric Wells, had stolen her life savings of around £63,000. Her statement to the law enforcement authorities further said that Howard frequently took her on cruise trips and booked penthouse suites. He even told Hazel that he owned a restaurant that Hazel could manage. Talking about the fraud and the impact of Howard's actions on her life, Hazel told the media, "Before I met him, I had a good job, lots of money in the bank, and I'd never been in debt. That man has ruined my life and who knows how many others. I don't want to fall in love again. I won't trust anybody. I've gotten to the point of hiding my purse. I just want him found and put where he is supposed to be, behind bars." Howard Walmsley hasn't been found ever since, with authorities believing that he might have moved abroad after defrauding his victims.